Okay, so anyway, welcome everybody. I think it's really exciting. We have Kathy Urbatchka, which I always struggle with the name, but
That's
anyway,
okay.
yeah, Kathy is from Wyoming. And for those of you who were with us a few weeks ago, we actually had Ken Chestek from Wyoming, who is running as a Democrat in Cheyenne, I believe.
No, in Laramie. And he actually won his primary.
Oh, okay, that's exciting. So
Oh.
anyway, and he's also in the law school in
Laramie
Laramie.
at
So
the University of Wyoming.
yeah, and he gave us he and Hank Myers from Wyoming were talking to us about the wonderful advocacy and what's happening in Wyoming in terms of passing local resolutions, which is really exciting. They got the city of Gillette, which is one of the most conservative cities in Virginia, in Wyoming, to pass a resolution, and they got the municipality or association of municipalities also. So it's interesting for us in Virginia in terms of engaging with raising voices, to engage with conservatives to learn from the Wyoming experience. So I've invited Kathy to join us, and this isn't on the work that they've done to pass local resolutions, but last week they actually had some hearings in their legislature. I'm not sure how that works in terms of the timing and when the actual legislature meets, but they're trying to pass their resolution in Wyoming that says to Wyoming, we support a constitutional amendment to regulate election spending. So I thought the lessons learned there were amazing. So I thought we'd invite Kathy. There's a couple other people like Chris Corpanta who were involved in stuff like that. But Kathy, can you just start and give us an overview of, sort of American Promise Wyoming, how you're structured, what you do, and then what happened last week?
Okay, sure. Back in 2017, a bunch of us got together, and I got involved later, but I collected signatures, and we ended up with, between Johnson County, Sheridan County, and I think there was some in Riverton and Buffalo and Powell and Cody. There were several municipalities. They're small. We have 23 counties in our state. And in order to get a resolution or an amendment, an actual amendment, we had to have a majority of the counties, 15 out of 23 of the counties had to have, I can't remember what the amount of registered voters, but it was some ridiculous amount in order for us to get it on the ballot. Well, it had to be a certain percentage in each county of registered voters. So we did really well in Sheridan County and Buffalo, in Johnson County, and we did really well in Riverton. And we got a whole bunch of signatures. We ended up with 17,000 signatures, and we needed something like 24,000 signatures or something like that. And of course, the legislature at that time in 2018 just pretty much laughed at us. And they said, oh, people didn't know what they were signing. And it was really disheartening when they did meet in February, when we presented our data and presented how we'd done it. It was all a grassroots operation. And we had gone out door to door to get these signatures done. And you could do 10 signatures per page, and you had to verify that they were registered voters. I was also an inputter for that too, to see if they were registered voters. And then, let's see, in 18, we presented our idea, and we were laughed at, and we really didn't get much headway. We have some very, very conservative, extreme right people in the legislature, and it's even worse now, and it's going to get worse. And so last week, our legislature meets in February, and they meet every year. Every other year is a budget year. And let me make sure I get this right. The even years are budget years. The odd years are other stuff that they do. And in between time, each committee in the legislature meets on a quarterly or semi-quarterly basis. Our committee met, the Joint Corporations, Elections, and Subdivisions Committee met. I didn't go. They met in May, I think, and then they met in August, and they will meet in October. And then they will meet, I believe, in January before session starts in February. And so this is a subcommittee of senators and representatives on this committee. There were 12 senators and representatives. We had 2 independents, mostly Republicans, no Democrats. It was, so anyway, it was very interesting, and it was centrally located in our state in Casper, which is kind of in the middle of the state. So anyway, they met, and they were actually going to talk about our amendment, because at last session in February of 2021, they actually got really far, and the House passed it, but we needed to have the Senate pass it, and of course they voted it down. So that's what prompted us to start working again to work on our verbiage and see how we could get this thing into the legislature. I didn't even really find out that they were really going to talk about it till probably 2 weeks before. And I don't think any of my people that actually got up and spoke did it either. We had 3 people that got up and spoke from Sheridan County. We had a gal from Fremont County that got up. And then I was there to support my group for all the signature gathering that we did. And they just started off, and they asked for people that wanted to testify. And Chris Gorfanta went up and gave a very good overview of what we were trying to do and why. And then Barbara Chase got up, and she spoke about how important it was to get dark money out of politics. And they didn't understand that. First, they didn't understand dark money, but there's been several of our legislatures in the counties that have been primaried due to dirty politics. And our Secretary of State is one of them. The Secretary of State elect and they were trying, I mean, in fact, I didn't even know this was going on, but for the last 2 weeks, they've been trying to find an independent candidate that could get 5,400 signatures of registered voters to get an independent candidate to challenge this guy that's running for Secretary of State, and they couldn't get one. And so now they're talking about stripping him of his election duties to verify an election, because he's an election denier. He's promoted lies about his candidate that was competing against him, his other Republican candidate. And she's a very, very staunch supporter of our amendment. And so it's kind of a mess. Wyoming's kind of a mess right now, a hot mess. And but so we got up, and then one of our people got up and compared the getting money out of politics to, when she was a little girl, she was a heavyset little girl, and her best friend was a tall, skinny little thing, and she would get on the teeter-totter. And so they had to make it work so that she wouldn't go when she went down, that her friend didn't go flying off. So she made an analogy of, she scooted in on her side so that her friend wouldn't go flying off, and they could work together. And she said, unfortunately, I'm not seeing that kind of cooperation in our legislature, something to that effect. And it really made an impression. They really listened to her. And one of the guys after our meeting came up to us and said they were really appreciative of our passion. And and several of them had said to us that they would vote for it. Chris Gorfanta has an in with the chairman on the committee, the co-chair. And he said, we're just going to keep one of the guys really happy, because he's an old guy that just doesn't do emails, doesn't do phone calls. You have to call him on the phone early in the morning to get him to talk to Charlie. And at least Chris has an in with them. And he said, I think right now I have a vote of 9 in favor and 3 against. And I think that's pretty good. And we feel pretty good that even though we didn't make it, they didn't like the wording with all the whereases and therefores and heretofores, and they want to get rid of that. I don't think they can do that, because that's the way the legislation is written, but whatever, that's not my thing. And but they want to put something in there about transparency, which we were all for. We had 2 senators that are particularly really difficult, and they're going to be the ones we have to convince. And the one was a guy from Lander. And she's another lady on our committee through one of the other counties. Fremont County has developed a relationship with him in another area. And so she was able to talk to him, and this legislature almost got primaried too. He barely won by like 200 votes or something like that in his county. And so he's very concerned also with this, but he doesn't understand the whole money thing. He asked several questions about, well, what's wrong with people just giving unlimited money? You know, and we couldn't get him to understand that unlimited money means those interests are the ones you guys pay attention to, and therefore we're drowning out the voices of the little people that are your constituents that you should be listening to. So lessons learned, we have a lot of work to do, but we do have support, and I feel really good about it. We have a guy from Wilson, Wyoming, which is where Liz Cheney's from, and he's an independent, and he said, I will do whatever I can to get this amendment passed for you guys and the resolution. I appreciate all these ladies coming to this meeting. And he said, I never thought I would see and we're all a bunch of gray hairs. And he said, I can't believe you're all gray headed and you're doing this, you know, and says, well, we're all retired, we can, you know, but it was, they were very interested in our passion and our commitment. And I think they want to rewrite the bill with their suggestions, and we're going to go back in October. They said you need to come back to see us October 13th or 14th. So we'll see what happens.
So what happens when in that hearing in October or something like that? I mean, you guys have done an amazing job. Even before you had this hearing, there were a lot of emails going around to AP on saying, what happens? How do you respond to somebody who says that money is speech? You know? Well,
that particular Ken Chestic had a little form, and I didn't get a copy of that, but I'm sure it's on the Wyoming Promise website. And it kind of scared the legislatures. They didn't like the fact that corporations were composed of people, so therefore people should be able to, the corporations should be able to have the voice. And I said, yeah, but it's not an inherent body. It's not a human. It's not a living, breathing, you know, person. And if a big corporation gives you money, your loyalties are going to be to them. And they looked at us like we were stupid and that we had two heads. And I think what's going to happen is the bill will be written with this particular Charlie's suggestions and Case's suggestions. They will send that, put it on their website, and that's public information once that bill is written. Then as a group of Wyoming Promise with Ken Chestic as our lead, or Chris or whoever that's available, will go back to the legislature, and hopefully we can get it passed, you know.
That's pretty amazing. So if they pass it in this committee,
if they pass it in the committee, then it goes to the legislature, and then it goes through their process with, I don't know how they do the introduction, and then if it makes it past the introduction to the committee of the whole, then the committee of the whole will meet a couple days after the session starts. And then if it passes there, then it goes to another reading. And then I think after 3 readings, it gets passed if people vote for it. So yeah, it's encouraging. I don't know what they're going to throw at us next month. I mean, in October, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I feel pretty confident. I still think we have a lot of work with the 2 that are really not on board with it. And then a couple of the senators were primaried, and so they won't be on the committee. And especially this one guy that was really disengaged, and it was really difficult to watch him because he was on his phone all the time. He had this little smirk on his face. It didn't even seem like he was listening. I mean, he voted no, but I don't know. And then supposedly the one that is replacing him is not a supporter of us either. He's more right than this guy is. And so I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting battle.
Was part of the story that Liz Cheney got a lot of outside dark money support from outside of the state? Was that one of the factors that sort of
I don't know that. I don't know. I think what's really scaring them now is the Secretary of State thing, and they want to have a committee, a nonpartisan committee that's made up of the governor, the Secretary of State, the treasurer, the auditor, and one other person in the actual government that will actually certify the election, because they are really worried about this particular Trump person that thinks the election was fraudulent, and he completely bashed his opponent with these terrible flyers about her and lied about her, that she was taking money on the side and that she was not transparent, and and all of it has been proven to be untrue. And it's really sad. And
well, this is really an interesting case study. I mean, hey, you guys, do you have any questions, like Bill, Jessica? I just think that you look at Wyoming, if Wyoming can garner enough interest in supporting a constitutional amendment, that's pretty amazing.
And I'm happy to share any of these emails. Nancy, please feel free to forward some of those emails that Chris sent to you. Any of that information about what happened, because it's, I think it's really important information to get out there.
Yeah, and I think that Chris did a really good job in pulling together your observations after the session, and the discussion, and just saying best practices, and especially the whole thing is developing relationships with people that you don't normally agree with.
Exactly. And that happened a lot. That was a really, in fact, our Democratic candidate for one of our House districts in Sheridan County went up to one of the legislatures, and he talked to her and said, I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and it's really nice to see your passion and your commitment. And he said, I would actually much rather work with a Democrat than some of these extreme right politicians in the legislature that I see coming in. And so I think that's a feather in our cap. And
was he a Republican?
Yeah, he actually came up and said that. I mean, and he's one of the old guard that's been there forever. I mean, I think he's from Wyoming, but he's been there forever. And it was like, wow, that's a really neat thing. And then Chris talked to this one particular legislature that's a problem, and Charlie, and she had called him in the morning and talked to him, and he asked her a bunch of questions, and she talked to the other representative, Senator Case. And I think it's, we're just building bridges a little bit at a time, so. And
I think that's one of the key messages, for our group when we're going, whether we have this upcoming subcommittee on campaign finance, it's reaching out to Republicans saying, we care about this issue. So yeah, it's reaching out to people normally that you don't feel you have a lot of commonality with, but try to develop the messaging. Yeah. Well, thanks, Kathy.
You're so welcome. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to come back and talk to you guys.
Yeah. And so,
we'll see what happens.
Are there any questions before we sort of pause the recording? Because I just think this, the Wyoming example really helps us in Virginia in terms of what we need. Patty, you have a question, your hand up.
I just want to say kudos to Kathy for her fierce grassroots work.
Thanks.
and that's what it takes. But I also want to say the one thing that we run into is some of the legislators that go, oh yeah, like, I know I really want to do right. Like there's a little bit of weak sincerity with some of these people. Mm-hmm. So just that pressure from the grassroots is gonna eventually humiliate them all into doing the right thing, but
I hope so. I don't know that it's gonna happen, but I hope so, you know?
yep. Just keep
And I
expanding.
can tell you in Virginia that that sort of lukewarm approach to appreciation campaign finance extends to some Democrats in our
Right.
legislature.
Well, it was interesting during the meeting, Case, I mean, Chris brought up about how much, you know, we'd had that we were part of the 17,000 signatures of the 20,000 that, you know, the 17,000 that we collected was very important, and how we did it, you know, door to day, you know, we did it week by week, and we just kept whittling it, you know, the city down. And he said, and that we got these signatures, and Case said, the senator said, well, they didn't really know what they were signing. I said, yes, I said, that's an insult to us. I said, we explained to all of our constituents that we talked to what this was all about. So they knew exactly what they were signing. And I don't like that whole deference that he didn't think we knew that the public didn't know what they were signing. They knew exactly what they were signing.
Karen, you have your hand up.
Yes, I wanted to thank you for, well, your work, but sharing what you've done with us. And I was thinking, well, Wyoming, is that the one I saw the documentary about, and they protected their campaign finance laws, and Republican and Democrats? I looked it up and it was Montana.
It was Montana.
And that's a great dark money. I think it's the name of the
Right,
Dark money.
money.
That's
Dark
dark
money.
So
Yep.
if you run into that lawmaker again that didn't understand what this is all about, make them watch that.
Oh, that's right. In the
That's a
movie,
good
Dark Money,
suggestion.
didn't it end up in Wyoming, that box of documents or something?
Oh, I don't know about that.
There was something in the movie about that, the documentary. about
Yeah,
that.
I
Oh
don't-
yeah, I can't remember where that was. Yeah, it's been a while since I watched
But
that
I
movie.
think, and before we end, I think that Wyoming, Ken and I were going back and forth. Didn't they pass, or were they gonna pass a good disclosure bill? Do you know
That's in the
anything?
works. I can't remember if they've done that yet. That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think that we really need to look, I think Ken was saying that in Wyoming, they were doing it, in Tennessee. So everybody, you know, this 1.6 billion that was dumped into dark money group recently, it's been in the
Right.
press all week. You know, I think that everybody is sort of saying, okay, you know, we need to pass good disclosure bills in terms of revealing dark money. But boy, if you guys can get your resolution passed, kudos to you.
Well, we'll
Um,
see. I think it's gonna, I don't know. They could throw another curve at us, you know, in October. I don't know. I think it was really helpful. I think it's important, if you do get to go to the legislature, they do have something, take people with you, because even me in the audience, I didn't get up and talk. But the fact that I was there, I think that really helped. And Chris said, I want everybody in the audience who, you know, carried a petition to raise their hand. And all of us from Sheridan did, and all of the people from Riverton did, and the lady from Buffalo. I mean, there were a lot of people that, and it was kind of like, they all kind of looked at us, maybe this is kind of important to the people of Wyoming, you know? You never
So
know.
that's interesting, because Heidi is joining us, and we're organizing a Democracy Day rally in next January when our legislature meets. We have, again, a short session this year, 30 days. We have you know, it sounds like Wyoming, a just weird, unmanageable sort of
Exactly.
legislation, but that's a great idea, you know, just making sure that everybody is raising their hands.
And making sure you have people there to support the people that are testifying. If, you know, if you don't want to get up and testify, I didn't feel like I was prepared. I got asked the night before whether I wanted to go, and I said, oh, sure, why not? And I didn't really prepare anything to talk about. And another thing that helped us too, one of the co-chair guys that's against our resolution wasn't there. He was excused. And so that could throw another wrench in the whole thing when he gets back, because he'll probably be back in October. Apparently he was having a wedding that he had to attend with his family. So, you know, and one of our other supporters had a death in the family, so she wasn't available to be there, but she voted with us, and she's a Republican too. So I mean, I think the support is out there. I just hope the really crazy we got to get this done before these crazy right wingers get in there in January. You know, but we got to get it done.
Well, Kathy, thanks so much. It was great. You know, we'll be watching this whole system with bated breath through November and your next legislative session. So
yeah, we'll see what happens.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Nice to talk to you all. Bye.
Thanks, Kathy.
You bet.